What's going on, bottom line viewers and NFL bettors? It's Mitch back here with another NFL Best Bets video. In this video, my favorite totals for week 3 of the 2022 NFL season. My favorite over-under plays for this NFL week 3. 5 favorite plays to be exact. Let me know your favorite total this week. Let me know if you're going over, if you're going under, and let me know your breakdown for your favorite pick this week. Don't forget to check out my parlays video as well as my top spread picks of the week. Let's get to it. Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more NFL best bets just like this. And let's begin with the first favorite over-under play, which is the Washington Commanders at home versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Over 47. Now, this line has been between 47 and a half. I don't believe it got up to 48, but it's kind of stuck around this number. And I like the over in this game. I really love both offenses, to be honest with you. I think Philadelphia's offense is one of the most difficult offenses to not only prepare for, but then show up on the field and actually play. Because you can have a game plan to stop Jalen Hurts in the running game, but how are you going to stop Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, then be able to cover Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown? It's just a tough proposition for any defense. This defense, Washington's defense, is arguably the worst defense in football right now. They are one of, if not the worst defense right now at defending the run through 2 weeks. And now they're facing arguably the NFL's most difficult run game to prepare for and to stop. Miles Sanders is having a good start to the season. Jalen Hurts is still thriving as a runner. And this offensive line, we know, can move the football and move people around. So I like the Eagles' offense in this game to not only be able to run the ball at will, but also be able to create plays down the field through the passing game. I don't view a good matchup for Washington versus Dallas Goedert. There just isn't one on their roster. Devontae Smith is a challenge vertically, and A.J. Brown is just a monster that I don't think Washington will be able to contain in this game. I love how Jalen Hurts is playing. I love how he is distributing the football. I love how accurate he has been thus far, and he's keeping plays alive. He's forcing defenses to come up on him to play the scramble, and he's dumping it over top their heads. I feel like Jalen Hurts is playing perfect football right now, and I want to ride with that against one of the worst defenses in football, one of the least creative defenses in football. Hurts can see it coming, and he's going to be able to deliver in this game. Now, the question is, can Carson Wentz deliver? Because the Philadelphia Eagles defense has been a confusing defense. They've been a defense that in week 1 wasn't very good. They allowed a ton of points, especially in the second half, versus a Detroit Lions offense that I really like. In week 2, they played another very good offense at home, and they played a lot better than expected versus Justin Jefferson. They really rose to the occasion on primetime television, unlike Kirk Cousins, and maybe part of that was primetime Kirk Cousins. But the Philadelphia Eagles, I do look at their defense and I say, I think it isn't quite as good as it showed on Monday night. I felt like the Vikings had multiple opportunities to score more points than they did in that game. They just didn't put it together in the red zone. I look at a Washington offense that I still think's undervalued. Their offensive line is solid enough to protect Wentz in this game. I do think they can run the ball on most teams. And I do think that with Washington's speed at receiver, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, and of course Terry McLaurin, Philadelphia is going to play this conservatively in the back end. I don't think they're going to want to play one-on-one. I think they're going to play a lot of zone coverage, and I think they're going to keep 2 safeties deep. And that's typically how they play their defense, but especially against a speedy wide receiver core with McLaurin, Dotson, and Samuel. So I think that's going to allow comfort for Carson Wentz to work the football underneath. I think that's going to allow Washington to run versus light boxes, and I think that allows Washington to move the football efficiently in this game. Not to mention, this is a Carson Wentz revenge game. This game is in Washington, so I like that a bit more. It's not in Philadelphia, where I feel like the Eagles defense is a bit better at home, and I'm just not a fan of Washington's defense. I don't care where they play. So overall, I could see the Eagles jumping out to a lead and then Washington surging back. I could also see Washington catching a sleeping Eagles team off a short week, getting a lead, and then the Eagles having to throw their way back in it, which would be ideal. So either way, I could see this game going over. I think both teams score into the 20s, and being that the total is only 47, I think both of these offenses are still a bit underrated, especially Washington's, an offense creating a lot of big plays down the field through the passing game. The second over-under play for week number 3 is the San Francisco 49ers and the Denver Broncos. I'm going under the total of 44. I've seen it at 44.5. I've seen it at 44. I'm going with the under because the Broncos right now are really struggling to score points in general. They're struggling to score in the red zone. And I don't think that's going to change against arguably the best defense in football in San Francisco. I think San Fran, if I were to put money on it, are the second best defense in the NFL behind only Tampa Bay. And I really like San Francisco's pass rush. I think they can win their matchups versus Denver's offensive line. I think they can create an uncomfortable pocket for Russell Wilson. Jerry Jeudy is probably not going to play in this game on Monday night, or Sunday night, I should say. So that means that really they only have Cortland Sutton to focus their attention on. And it's not like Denver's receiving core has a heck of a ton of depth or speed to it. KJ Hamler is that speedster, but I don't view him as a continuously dangerous player. I feel like he's a one-trick pony. He's a couple plays in a game, maybe can make something happen, but I think that with the improved secondary of San Francisco, with Charvarius Ward, with the depth that they now offer, I think they can handle the Broncos receivers fairly easily. So I think San Francisco's defense has the advantage in the back end and in the front end. And I know San Francisco knows how to play Russell Wilson because they've seen him so many times before. This was a rivalry for a long time. D'Amico Ryans, I think, will have some tricks up his sleeve to defend Russell Wilson here. And it's not like Russell Wilson has that Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf combination like he had in Seattle. That was actually a challenge for San Francisco. I think it's going to be trouble for the Broncos to run the ball because a lot of teams just can't run the ball versus San Francisco, which means that Denver, the area they've been most reliant on offense, has been the run game. They're going to probably have to pass more. They're going to be more in third and longs. I don't really trust Hackett right now. I don't really trust Russ right now. I just don't trust this offense to put up a ton of points. So I like the matchup for San Francisco's defense. On the flip side, I think the Broncos defense is pretty good. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's as good as San Francisco's, but I do like the pass rush, and I feel like the Broncos can get some pressure versus Jimmy G, and I think Jimmy G is a guy who is not exactly an explosive passer. Yes, he has George Kittle back. Yeah, they have Debo and Ayuk, and yes, this is a good offense. I love Kyle Shanahan, all that stuff, but Jimmy G is going to play this slower. They're going to run the ball with Jeff Wilson. I don't know how successful it's going to be. I feel like the Broncos' run D has improved from last year. I think they're going to have some success, but not a ton of success, enough to put up a ton of points. I do think George Kittle will be a problem, but the Broncos do have good corners. Even without Justin Simmons in the secondary, I feel like they will be feisty and competitive in this game. And like I said, it's not like Jimmy G's throwing the ball over your head. So this can allow the Broncos to play more in the box, closer to the line of scrimmage, make life difficult on Jimmy over the middle of the field. And this is also a defensive coordinator in Denver who comes from LA, who has familiarity with Kyle Shanahan's system, who worked under Sean McVay. So I feel like there's a lot of familiarity there in understanding, okay, what's Kyle going to throw at us? So I'm not too worried about the schematical edge that San Francisco may have either. So all of these things to me point to the Niners looking to grind out a victory on the road versus Denver at Mile High. And I think one of these teams is bound to not make it into the 20s. So I'm going to take the under 44 on Sunday night. My third over-under best bet is the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons. I like the over 42. This is one of my favorites of the week. I just really think Atlanta's offense continues to be underrated. And if you would like to just bet their team total over, that also makes sense. But I view both of these defenses as being relatively weak. I think Atlanta's has a strong secondary, but not much of a pass rush. And I think the area where Seattle has had a lot of trouble is containing good pass rushes and containing Nick Bosa and containing the 49ers front. In the first half versus Denver, even though they played a strong secondary, they were able to move the ball pretty well. Well enough for a lower total of 42 to see an over in this game. I think the Atlanta Falcons will move the ball pretty successfully in the run game with Cordero Patterson with their zone scheme, as we saw San Francisco do the same with a similar scheme. And through the air, Drake London, there's nobody covering him for Seattle. I think he's going to be an issue. And this could be the week Kyle Pitts gets going, as no Jamal Adams at safety, no individual matchup like Marshawn Lattimore or Jalen Ramsey that he saw in recent weeks. I think Mariota's being undervalued right now. I think the Atlanta Falcons' unique attack, a lot of pistol, a lot of play action, a lot of RPO stuff, a lot of zone scheme running. I think all of these things are plus EV, so to speak, for an offense, and it elevates kind of a weaker offensive line. It elevates a weaker quarterback, and it gets the ball into their playmakers' hands. And I love what Arthur Smith is doing. I feel like Atlanta's going to put up high 20s, possibly even into the 30s on the road. And Seattle's a team that, with a lesser pass rush in town, that weakness of their offensive line will not be so significant. I think they can run it a little bit with their two dynamic running backs, Penny and Walker, and then get the football to Metcalf and Lockett through the passing game. Geno has not been that bad so far. It has not been his fault. I think Seattle and Atlanta combine for over 42 points. My fourth best bet over under play is the Las Vegas Raiders Tennessee Titans. I'm going under the total of 45.5, which I feel is just too high. I don't understand it. Tennessee has arguably the worst offense in football right now, or they're at least in the conversation. They couldn't move the ball whatsoever in the first 2 weeks on the ground, which is their bread and butter. And I really worry about that versus a pretty strong run defense of the Las Vegas Raiders. Chandler Jones has been doing his thing setting the edge. We know what Max Crosby can do. They've got some underrated interior defensive linemen who are built to stop the run. It's a very sound scheme from a coaching perspective, and they've done very well at stopping the run versus both the Chargers and the Cardinals. So I don't think the Titans are going to be able to run it that successfully with Derrick Henry. And the weakness of the Raiders defense is their corners, but their corners aren't outmanned by Robert Woods or Treylon Burks. This is not a dynamic passing game. Ryan Tannehill's been up and down. He's been struggling. This offensive line is not very good with weak tackles who have to take on a dynamic edge duo with the Raiders. So I could see the Titans certainly going under their total, and I could see the Raiders defense having the best performance so far of this season, especially after that big comeback win by the Cardinals and that upset that happened. They were up 20-0. Their defense was playing superb, and they don't have to chase around the Roadrunner this week. On the flip side, you've got no Hunter Renfrow for the Raiders. The Raiders' offensive line has been okay this year, but if there is a weakness to their offense, we know it's the offensive line, and we know that the Titans with Jeffrey Simmons can cause some issues there a little bit. The Raiders will be without Josh Jacobs. Their running game may suffer because of it. I think Jacobs is an underrated player and talent, and I do think he is a good running back for what it's worth. Devontae Adams is a beast, and he'll get his. Darren Waller's a beast. He'll get his. But Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, good safeties that could potentially match up with him in this game. I think Mike Vrabel has familiarity with Josh McDaniels' scheme, as both are kind of Patriot minds. So while I do view the Raiders as the better bet in this game to win, I think they're going to have to grind it out a little bit in order to do so. And it's also in Tennessee, so it's not in the perfect Raider dome and perfect Raider environment. I think that the Titans struggle to move the ball. The Raiders sputter and they end up winning, but I've got the under 45.5. My fifth and final over-under play for week number 3 is my New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens going under the total that has been bet up of 44.5. Personally, as a Patriots fan, I just have not seen enough consistency in terms of explosive plays for me to really truly believe that they're going to score a ton of points in this game. It would surprise me a little bit if Mac found a groove and if the Patriots passing game was able to continually dice up and deliver down the field. That's what Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle were able to do last week due to their speed. I think the Patriots struggle in that regard. They don't have a lot of speed at receiver. They don't have a lot of speed on their offense. Nelson Aguilar is the only real threat down the field that makes plays, and I do think he'll make one or two, but I don't think it's going to be consistent enough elsewhere for them to really feature the downfield passing game. I think it's going to be slow and steady wins the race for their offense. They're going to control the ball. They're going to keep Lamar off the field. They're going to run it. They're going to throw it. They're going to do their screen game, but it's not going to be so explosive that this goes over. They're just going to run the clock. And then on the other side, yes, Lamar has been great and their offense has been great, but they're playing, in my opinion, a defense that's super undervalued right now. I think the Patriots defense is very good, and they've got a couple of unique matchups to play Lamar Jackson. They've got a lot of strong safeties that can both tackle well, move well, cover well, and then also be kind of modified linebackers who can chase down Lamar in open space. They've also got a defensive line that's pressuring quarterbacks at a pretty high rate. Dietrich Wise is playing his best football. Christian Barmore sacked the quarterback last week. Matt Judon's a great athlete. I think the Patriots defense is being undervalued. And I do think that Jalen Mills or Jonathan Jones can at least go toe-to-toe with Rashad Bateman to slow him down. Kyle Duggar or Adrian Phillips can go toe-to-toe with Mark Andrews and slow him down. So I think the Patriots defense matches up well with Lamar and this offense. And I think the Patriots offense, the struggling unit that it is right now, is just not explosive enough for this total to go over. I think it's a grinded out game, and it sticks to the under in this game, under 44.5. Those are my best bets in terms of totals for week number 3 this week. Check out the spread picks. Check out my parlay picks. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, Gronk spike the like button, subscribe for more, and good luck this weekend. Peace.